In the heart of Manhattan, where luxury whispered from every skyscraper and diamonds glistened on wrists like stardust, lived Isabella Morgan, the only daughter of American billionaire Charles Morgan. Born into opulence, Isabella's world was filled with private jets, art galleries, and champagne galas. But her heart, somehow, always longed for something real, something pure. One rainy evening, while returning from a charity event in Brooklyn, Isabella's car broke down. Her bodyguard stepped out to call for help, and that's when she noticed a boy across the street, soaked in the rain, selling hand-painted postcards under a tattered umbrella. His name was Aiden Brooks, 20 years old, with eyes that held the quiet pain of struggle and dreams that still dared to live. Isabella walked up to him, curious. "Why do you do this in the rain?" she asked, her voice softened by the rhythm of the drizzle. He looked up, startled. "Because dreams don't wait for weather." That night changed everything. Day by day, Isabella found reasons to visit that corner, until she finally invited Aiden to work at her estate. She told her father he was an assistant for her art project, but secretly, she kept him close, very close. In her lavish home, Aiden cleaned her studio, helped her cook, organized her events, and slowly, unknowingly, became the rhythm of her life. They shared late-night talks on the balcony, painted together, and listened to old jazz records. 1 year passed, and their bond grew into a love so profound it no longer needed words. One morning, Isabella stood before him, trembling. "Aiden, I want to marry you." He froze. "Me? But I'm just..." "Don't say it. I know what you're thinking, but I love you, with every part of me." When Charles Morgan heard of it, fury lit his soul. A billionaire's daughter marrying a poor boy? It was, to him, a stain on their legacy. "You don't understand," Isabella cried. "He makes me feel alive." But Charles was deaf to love. That night, he ordered his men to take care of Aiden permanently. Aiden barely escaped with his life, injured and bleeding. Isabella found him hiding near the river and cried as she bandaged his wounds. "I'll run away with you," she whispered. "We'll go far. Anywhere but here." But Aiden shook his head. "I won't let your father destroy you for me." The next morning, Isabella stood before her father. "If you kill him, you'll have to kill me too. Because I'm not leaving him." Charles Morgan stared at her, heart like stone. And then, in a moment of cold, cruel madness, he raised the gun. A shot echoed in the hallway. And then another. When the police arrived at the Morgan estate, they found Charles Morgan on the floor, weeping beside the lifeless bodies of his daughter and the boy she loved. The city mourned the loss of its princess. But in a quiet corner of Central Park, every week, someone still leaves 2 red roses and a painted postcard beneath a bench, signed with just 2 letters. I, and forever in love, forever in loss. News of the double tragedies spread like wildfire across the country. Charles Morgan, once hailed as a business legend, was now behind bars, charged with the murder of his own daughter and the boy she loved. America watched in disbelief. But the story didn't end there. A week after the funeral, an old woman came to the police with a trembling voice. "I have something to tell you," she whispered. "Aiden didn't die." She was Margaret, a retired nurse. On the night of the shooting, she had found Aiden barely breathing in the forest behind the estate, his body cold, his pulse faint. She had taken him to her cabin and hidden him, terrified the killer might return. Isabella had been shot in the chest, Aiden in the shoulder. Only Isabella died that night. Aiden woke 3 days later, screaming her name. When he learned she was gone, something inside him shattered. He refused to eat, refused to speak. For weeks, he stayed silent, staring at the sky like he was waiting for her to return. Then one morning, he walked into the city alone. He visited the places they loved, the library where they read poetry, the art store where she bought her first brush, the tiny diner where they had pancakes at midnight. And finally, he reached her grave. The headstone read, Isabella Morgan. She followed her heart, where few dared to go. Aiden sat beside her, clutching the same painted postcard he had once given her in the rain. On its back, he wrote, "You are my home in a world that never wanted me to belong." He stayed by her grave every single day for a year. People began noticing. Strangers brought flowers. Tourists left notes. The grave became a symbol, not just of a lost love, but of how deep, true love can defy even death. Then, one stormy night, exactly 2 years after the tragedy, Aiden disappeared. No one saw him again. But some say, on rainy days, a young man can be seen sitting on that same bench in Central Park, painting postcards and staring into the mist. They say he whispers her name with a smile. And sometimes, beside him, they see a girl in a white dress, barefoot, holding a red rose. They never speak. They just exist in that moment, in that love, in that eternity. Final note on the grave. She loved beyond the rules. He stayed beyond the end. Together in heart, forever.